And Ryan, you brought up a wonderful statistic about how your turnover has really come down to nothing. So you really are looking at it statistically as well as that it is a driver acceptance, that it isn't anything to fear. But more so, you highlighted your reduction in claims, but I think you as well, you have like, I think on the lines of, what really 89% reduction of incidents after deploying the AI dash cameras. So what do you attribute that dramatic shift to, and how quickly did you start seeing these results right after you implemented?
Yeah, look, we started seeing results right away, but I think this tool is really amazing, but your whole organization needs to be involved in it. Look, we let drivers go, we pay drivers more. I'll give you a quick example. I think your driver incentive program is really key here, right? So $200 a month is what we pay a driver with a driver over 90. $1,000 we pay a driver. So top driver at a location, we have 53 locations. $5,000 we pay a driver in a region. We have 5 regions. So it's about recognizing and gamification of the data. It's about raising the bar and using this tool to raise the bar, not just on the driver, but also on the leaders in the field that are talking to the drivers, that are coaching them, and then supporting it with LCRs, life critical rules, right? You will have a safety meeting by the end of the day if a driver has a vet. You will have a safety stand-up meeting once a week. Whatever your organization chooses, you use that, I'm going to say, carrot to drive those behaviors. It's really remarkable. So we budgeted, we more than doubled our budget in paying drivers for what they earned by doing the behaviors that we asked. The last thing I would say would be we implemented a performance improvement plan. So that is a driver that doesn't change their behaviors. They're going to be removed and let go. And again, it's about raising the bar. I don't believe a behavior equals a negative individual, or let's say a bad person. I really believe in SMS methodology released by FMCSA about addressing the behavior with an actionable plan. Like if you do this, Y is going to happen. And I would just tell you, drivers, managers have responded in kind. When you asked how quickly do we see it, again, I brought the data for this. So just to give you an example, in events, we had 479 vehicles in our fleet. We had 286,000 events. With over 1,000 vehicles in our fleet now, we have less than 25,000 events. If you're talking about reduction, that's reduction. So total year to date, little updated data here, is about a 91% reduction in total events. More specifically, cell phone events. Let's talk about like one of the leading causes for accidents. 2023, again, when we had 479 vehicles, we had 66,000 events. Year to date in 2025, we have 5,000 events. That's a 92 reduction. And so what I would tell you is it's about getting into the data, getting with the drivers. One piece that's not talked a lot about is through these events, I think Chris would really echo this, you sort of start seeing the environment that your driver is living in, right? You're looking at, why are they getting cell phone events? Oh, they don't have a cell phone holder. Dispatch is calling our driver when they're delivering. So you really get to work on these internal mechanisms or standard work or processes or procedures to really support that driver, to have an environment where they're set up for success. And by the way, FusionSite Services, the result of that is, the reduction down to one event, you really wanted I said C-suite, that's a $2.5 million reduction on an insurance plan. And that's in the year one out of a 5-year measured time frame, right? So imagine the next period, the ROI that you're going to get as you're trending that way. The next period, the investment in motive in the driver recognition program or the PIT program and the training that needs to go along with this is nothing compared to the ROI from financially speaking. But man, there's nothing better than looking at your driver population and saying, you can do this, and we are going to save lives together. And we are doing that because of the platform that we selected, which is Motive. So hopefully those are added value.
Oh, more than added value. You've just proven it statistically for, really the impact and taking a technology, embracing it, but having obviously the confidence in what it will produce. I have always argued that look at the professions of today. What do? They look at game film, they look at their, their really their techniques, their behaviors, and they use that to better themselves. And how do they better? The more productivity, their performance, they get rewarded. And you both gave great examples on that. Well, look at what we have in our organizations. We have professional drivers or professional technicians, professional providers. It's the same thing. Coaching and mentoring is key. We do have lines that have to be crossed that if somebody is not really supporting or, looking at the approach, there's a risk, too much risk to a business. But it really then does come down to is we got to address it. But it to you, and I hear from both you that it really is about the coaching aspect. So Ryan, Chris brought up and that you referenced about that important role of that in-cab coaching plays. Quickly, can you tell us really from what you were used to in the past of this, what is that difference with the drivers? Are you seeing the self-correction, or is there still the reinforcement that you have to do from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, I think coaching is by far the most important thing that a driver experiences in their entire operational day or week or career. And so what we do is we measure when a coaching event occurs. So that means like when, let's say Ryan sits down with a driver, we measure number one, how long it was between the event happening and when that manager sits down with that driver. So we measure that to make sure that it fits into our life critical rule set, which means if it falls into one of our critical events, they have to coach it within a period of time. The second thing that we measure is how does that driver respond to that coaching? How does that driver adjust their behavior? Does that driver adjust their behavior? And then we not only hold that to account on that driver, but then we also hold that account to that manager. So we coach our coachers to be able to deliver that. I do think Motive has a really good platform to support that process. Historically, you would have to pay somewhere in the ballpark of $2.50 just to request the video, let alone to be able to choose a form that you could send it, document it, and really trend out that driver through like, is this the third cell phone event within a week or two? Is this the fourth cell phone in a week or two? We do use the tool of sending that video to the driver on the driver application. So you have to add that in that specific application that driver is operating under. We've seen really great results with that. A driver watching himself or herself in that video, they realize, wow, I didn't even think that I was doing that. I think that's what I would really share across this board is that a lot of times you have drivers that don't realize that they're actually doing this behavior. And that's would be my one vocal point here is that, I just go back to SMS methodology and how drivers and coaches have these behaviors. They have these things that they've carried with them their life, and they impact the way they deal with people. They impact the way they drive. If you're from a farm, do you wear a seatbelt? On a tractor, maybe not, right? And so there's a period of time that you have to go through this education process, and so I would say Motive does a really good job in allowing you, especially for maybe a smaller fleet. What do I say to a driver if they pick up their cell phone? Well, guess what? On the Modem platform, it gives you a suggested comment. It also gives you the trends out that allows you to actually tell that driver, hey, these are all the behaviors that you've had in this window of time, and really empowers them to again, a local manager empowers that local manager to coach that driver. There is a comment that just came in. It says, I wish we could send them videos right from Motive. You 100% can. So if you're having issues that, reach out to the Motive team. They'll be able to show you how to do that. We do it, and it really works wonders. Gary, hopefully those are added value comments.
Oh, absolutely. And I appreciate you responding to that because, the technology advances so quickly, especially across the board, but even with us, staying on top and taking advantage of what this technology can provide to you is so critical.